Good morning, guys. It's Mr. Kelly, and here's our language arts video lesson for April 20th. Okay, the warm-up for today. Think about activities you have done with your family or even with just a member of your family, like a brother or father, or even your mother or your sister, an aunt, an uncle, or a grandparent. Could be anyone. What was the activity? What did you like about it? And what kind of meaning was added because you did it with your family or just one of those family members I mentioned before? All right, so I wrote a response for you guys just to use as an example to get an idea of what you can write. So my brother and I are only a year and a half apart, and we were actually in the same grade in school when we were younger. We spent a lot of time together growing up, obviously. Many people even thought we were twins, but just had that kind of relationship. We could finish each other's sentences. And a couple of activities I look back fondly are playing basketball and video games. We always had a basketball hoop outside, and if the weather was nice, we would always be playing, always be shooting, going one-on-one, doing anything. We were both on the junior high team growing up, so basketball was a big part of our lives at that age, and even into high school. When we got back from school at that age, we'd always be outside shooting right after school if the weather was good. And also video games. We were really into video games a lot, especially on the weekends growing up. We're playing anything together. And it's something I really look back at fondly, especially now that we're both older. He has a family, I'm engaged, and rarely, if ever, do we actually have the opportunity to do stuff like that anymore. So looking back, I'm happy that I shared those activities with my brother because it was really a lot of fun, and I'm glad I did that. So for today's classwork, before we get to our reading, which is a very short poem, let's talk about ellipses. So what is an ellipsis? Typically, you'll either see a long dash strung together in between words, or maybe a few dots strung together. Now, an ellipsis is a device or symbol used to omit or delete parts of a narrative in order for the reader to fill the gaps and come up with a response. They can also represent a long passage of time. So let's take a look at our story for today, Father and Son. Now, it's so short that I figured I'd just type it out for you guys and read it. No sounds, a spell, on out where the wind went, our kite sent back its thrill along the string that sagged, but sang and said, I'm here, till broke somewhere. Gone years ago, but sailed forever clear of earth. I hold whatever tugs the other end. I hold strings. All right, so we just talked about ellipses. Let's go back at the definition again. A small device or symbol used to omit or delete parts of a narrative in order for the reader to fill in the gaps and come up with a response. Or they can also represent a long passage of time. So let's look at the poem again. No sounds, a spell, on out. And then down below, sagged but sang and said, I'm here, till broke somewhere. Gone years ago, but sailed forever clear of the earth. I hold whatever tugs the other end. I hold string. All right, so let's take a look at some of the questions now. So think of 3 words that you think would fit well for the first 3 ellipses. So let's check out the poem again for a minute. No sounds, a spell, on out. So we could say something, no sounds where I am, no sounds on the beach, no sounds in my head, maybe no sounds in my ear. So no sounds, excuse me, a spell, a long spell that's short. Are we under a spell? The spell I'm under. maybe something like that could work. Because it sounds like they're definitely somewhere where the wind is wild, probably on the beach or out in the field somewhere where the wind is strong and unpredictable. And then the third ellipsis down here, sagged but sang and said, I'm here, I'm here. So this tells me that the kite, that one of the characters, the father or the son, in their imagination, they're hearing the kite say, I'm here, and maybe it continues until snap. Suddenly, after a while, it breaks. So the kite is talking in their minds for a while. That's what this ellipsis means, showing this strong and long passage of time. A long time did that kite say, I'm here, did they look at it, and then it finally broke somewhere. So our third ellipsis, we're talking about a long passage of time. And then up here, no sounds, a spell, on, out. So we could, like I said before, put some words in there for either of those ellipses. Or it could be a long passage of time, because when you're flying a kite somewhere out on the beach, you just have the kite up there and no sounds, and it just feels like no sounds for a while. Or it could be no sounds in a specific place, and a spell, you could be under a spell for quite a while, or you could describe the spell. So to help, think about what the poem is about: a father and a son flying a kite. What might be on the minds of the father and his son? Think about the possible settings as well. So like I said before, when we're flying a kite, we're probably on a beach, in a big open field somewhere, in a park, somewhere where there's a lot of space where the kite won't interfere with any trees or anything like that. So they're not in their backyard and not around the corner. Setting could really play a part in this. So, and one more question. Is the father or the son the actual author of this poem? So let's go back and check it out. Let me hide that. There you go. Oh, how did I do that? So, no sounds, a spell. On, out. Where the wind went, our kite sent back its thrill along the string that sagged, but sang and said, I'm here, till broke somewhere. Gone years ago, but sailed forever clear of earth, I hold, whatever tugs the other end, I hold string. Okay, so. That's better. Anyway, so no sounds, a spell, on, out. Where the wind went, our kite sent back. So from those first two lines, very difficult to say who's the author of the story. Could be either one of them. Its thrill along the string that sagged but sang and said, I'm here, till broke somewhere. The next two lines, also very difficult to tell who is telling the story, whose perspective we're looking from. So, gone years ago, but sailed forever clear of earth. I hold whatever tugs the other end, I hold string. All right, so these last two lines are what's going to help us most determine who the author is, or at least point us in a direction. So, gone years ago. So when we see those three letters, those three words, I should say, excuse me, gone years ago, this story did not happen last week or the other day. One of the characters is reflecting on this event many, many years in the future. And then we jump ahead to I hold whatever tugs the other end, I hold string. So we know that someone is looking back on this poem from a long time ago. When they flew this kite, it was a long time ago. And then one of them held the string. So who would hold the string if a father and son are flying the kite and it's really windy, and imagine that the son is at the oldest 10 or younger. So the father could very well be hanging on to the kite. So that means he could be the author. And something else we could consider, gone years ago, this could have been 20, 25 years ago, this story, once we're being told it. So the father could very well be reflecting back on this at an older age, could be a grandfather at this point in time. His situation could be a lot different. Holding on to a memory, looking back at it fondly. It's very possible. But also, it could be the son. Maybe he did hold a string. It's possible he was not that young. Maybe a little unlikely, but possible. The son could be at the point in life where he is now a father and he's taking his son to the beach, maybe, and they're building this memory of flying a kite. But if I had to put something down, I would say the father. That would just be my instinct, but you guys can interpret this poem, this short story, any way you'd like. But again, if we're trying to determine who the author would be, the last two lines are the most important. Gone years ago, but sailed forever clear of earth. I hold whatever tugs the other end, I hold string. All right, guys. So in closing, make sure you submit your work by 8 p.m. tonight on Monday. Please let me know if you have any questions. Email or comment. I will get back to you as soon as possible. And starting this week on Tuesday and Wednesdays at 12:30 to 1 o'clock, I'll be having live office hours on Zoom. I will post meeting information on Google Classroom. All right, guys. Have a good day. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.